Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. Imagine pulling a single penny from your pocket and realizing it doesn't sound like copper when it hits the table. Imagine holding a coin that was never supposed to exist, a mistake from wartime America that quietly slipped into history and later shocked the entire coin collecting world. Today, we're uncovering one of the rarest and most mysterious US coins ever made, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny dated 1944 with a D mint mark. At first glance, it looks simple. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait stares back at you, calm and dignified, just like on millions of other wheat pennies. But this coin carries a secret that turns it from ordinary pocket change into a legendary collector's dream. To understand why, we need to go back to World War II. During 1943, the United States faced a severe copper shortage. Copper was desperately needed for ammunition, wiring, and military equipment. To conserve resources, the U.S. Mint made a historic decision: Lincoln cents would be struck in zinc-coated steel instead of copper. Millions of steel cents were produced that year, and they instantly stood out with their silver-gray appearance. In 1944, the war situation changed. Copper became available again, and the mint officially returned to making pennies from copper alloy using recycled shell casings from the battlefield. That's what makes the 1944 steel wheat penny so extraordinary. Steel cents were never supposed to be made in 1944. Yet somehow, a tiny number of steel planchets from 1943 were left behind in the minting presses. At the Denver Mint, one of those leftover steel blanks was struck with 1944 dies, creating the legendary 1944 D Steel Wheat Penny. It wasn't planned. It wasn't announced. It was a pure accident, one of the most famous mint errors in American numismatic history. Visually, the coin is stunning. The obverse features Lincoln's portrait, strong and well-defined, with the date 1944 clearly visible beneath him and a small D mint mark just below the date. That little D is everything. It tells us this coin came from the Denver Mint, and it separates a priceless rarity from countless replicas and altered coins. Flip it over and you'll see the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum resting proudly above. The design is familiar, but the color is not. Instead of warm copper tones, this coin shines in a steel gray finish that instantly signals something unusual. What truly elevates this coin is how few exist. Experts believe only a handful of genuine 1944 D steel wheat pennies are known today. Some estimates suggest fewer than 10 confirmed examples. That level of rarity puts it in the same league as the most famous U.S. coins ever discovered. Collectors obsess over this penny not just because it's rare, but because it represents a moment in history. It's a physical reminder of wartime America, industrial pressure, and human error inside the mint. Coins like this weren't saved intentionally. Most were likely spent, lost, or destroyed before anyone realized their significance. Authentication is critical with this coin. Because of its enormous value, many fakes exist. Some copper 1944 pennies have been plated to look like steel, and some 1943 steel cents have had their dates altered. A genuine example will stick to a magnet, show proper mint characteristics, and be verified by top professional grading services. Condition also plays a major role. Even though rarity outweighs condition for a coin like this, sharper details, original surfaces, and minimal damage can dramatically increase its desirability. Collectors compete fiercely when one appears, because they know opportunities like this may come only once in a lifetime. This coin isn't just collected, it's chased. Museums want it. Elite collectors want it. Auction houses treat it as a headline event. Every time one surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic world and reminds everyone that even the smallest denomination can hold unbelievable power. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. At public auction, a genuine 1944 D Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny has sold for over $1 million. Yes, a single 1-cent coin, worth 1 penny when it was made, has crossed the auction block for more than $1 million, proving once again that history, rarity, and mistakes can turn pocket change into life-changing treasure. Top 2. Today, we're uncovering the real story behind the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny dated 1944 with a D mint mark, a coin that connects wartime America, industrial recovery, and serious collector demand. The year 1944 was a powerful moment for the United States. World War II was still raging overseas, factories were operating around the clock, and the entire nation was focused on victory. Every material mattered, including the metal used to make coins. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, pennies were struck in steel to save copper for the war effort. But by 1944, conditions had changed. Copper once again became available, and the U.S. Mint returned to producing pennies in their familiar copper alloy. That return to copper is what makes the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny such a historically meaningful coin. It represents America shifting from emergency measures back toward stability. The copper used for these pennies often came from recycled military shell casings, giving the coin a direct physical connection to the war itself. Every 1944 penny carries that hidden story within its metal. The Denver Mint played a major role in producing cents that year, and the 1944 wheat penny became one of the most widely collected issues of the series. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears strong and dignified, a symbol of unity and perseverance during uncertain times. Below the date, the small D mint mark identifies Denver as its birthplace, a tiny detail that collectors pay close attention to. Turn the coin over and you'll see the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design had been in use since 1909 and would soon disappear just a few years later, making the 1944 D one of the final chapters in the beloved wheat penny era. There's something timeless about this design, something that instantly pulls collectors back into mid-20th century America. While millions of 1944 D pennies were produced, not all examples are created equal. Most were heavily circulated, used in daily commerce, dropped on sidewalks, and stored in drawers for decades. Finding one today with strong details, minimal wear, and original color is becoming more difficult every year. That's where collector value begins to rise. Some 1944 D pennies stand out even more due to striking quality, sharp lettering, full wheat lines, and attractive surfaces. Coins that avoided heavy circulation and remained protected for decades are especially desirable. Even small differences in condition can make a dramatic difference in how collectors view the coin. There is also excitement surrounding unusual variations and mint-related oddities from 1944. While not all are errors, some show weak strikes, die cracks, or unusual surface characteristics that add intrigue. Collectors love studying these details because they reveal what was happening inside the mint during a year of intense production pressure. What truly keeps the 1944 D wheat penny popular is its balance. It is historic, widely recognized, and still attainable for many collectors, yet high-grade examples remain challenging to find. That combination keeps demand strong decade after decade. Beginners want it for their first album, and advanced collectors want the best example possible. Grading plays a huge role in determining value. Pennies that retain original mint luster, rich copper color, and sharp detail are far more valuable than those that are dull or heavily worn. Professional grading services are often used for top-quality examples to confirm authenticity and condition, especially when serious money is involved. The market for Lincoln Wheat Pennies continues to grow as new collectors enter the hobby and experienced collectors upgrade their sets. Coins like the 1944 D remain at the center of that interest because they tell a story that goes beyond metal and design. They represent survival, recovery, and the everyday economy of wartime America. Now comes the part everyone wants to know. While most circulated examples are affordable, exceptional 1944 D Lincoln Wheat Pennies in top condition have achieved remarkable results when they appear at major auctions. In the highest grades, with stunning preservation and eye appeal, this coin has reached auction prices exceeding $100,000. That's right, a single 1-cent coin, once used to buy everyday items during World War II, has sold at auction for well over $100,000, proving once again that history, condition, and collector passion can transform simple pocket change into an extraordinary treasure. Top 3. Today, we're diving into the unbelievable story of the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny dated 1944, a coin that rewrote the rules of rarity and stunned collectors worldwide. To understand why this coin is so special, we have to return to the heart of World War II. During 1943, copper was desperately needed for the war effort. Bullets, wiring, shell casings, everything required copper. So the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change and struck Lincoln cents in zinc-coated steel. These steel pennies were produced for just 1 year and instantly stood out because of their silver-gray color. When 1944 arrived, the situation changed. Copper supplies improved, and the mint officially returned to making pennies from copper alloy once again. This meant that steel cents were no longer authorized. As far as official records were concerned, steel pennies were finished forever, but history doesn't always follow the rules. Somewhere inside the minting process, a small number of leftover steel blanks from 1943 remained behind. These steel planchets were accidentally fed into the presses along with the 1944 dies. The result was a coin that was never supposed to exist, the 1944 Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny. Unlike the common copper 1944 cent, this coin has a bright steel appearance that immediately raises eyebrows. It looks like a 1943 penny, but the date clearly reads 1944. That single detail transforms it from an everyday coin into one of the most famous mint errors in American history. The design itself is classic and powerful. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears strong and composed, a symbol of leadership during one of the most difficult periods the nation ever faced. The date 1944 beneath him tells a story of recovery and transition, while the metallic steel surface tells a completely different story, one of accident and rarity. On the reverse, the iconic wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. This design had been part of American life for decades, but on steel, it takes on an entirely different character. The contrast between the familiar design and the unexpected metal is exactly what makes this coin so captivating. What truly sets the 1944 steel wheat penny apart is how few exist. Experts believe that only a very small number were ever struck, and even fewer have survived to the present day. Most were likely spent unknowingly or lost before anyone realized their importance. Today, confirmed genuine examples are counted in single digits. Collectors obsess over this coin not just because it's rare, but because it represents a perfect storm: wartime pressure, human error, and historical significance all coming together in a single cent. Coins like this aren't planned, repeated, or recreated. Once they're gone, that's it. Because of its extreme value, this coin has been heavily targeted by counterfeiters. Some people try to plate copper pennies to look like steel. Others alter dates on 1943 steel cents. A genuine 1944 steel penny will stick to a magnet, show proper mint characteristics, and be authenticated by professional grading services. Authentication is absolutely critical with a coin of this magnitude. Condition still matters, even with rarity this extreme. Coins with clear details, minimal corrosion, and original surfaces are far more desirable. Steel coins are especially vulnerable to rust, so surviving examples in strong condition are nothing short of miraculous. Every time a genuine 1944 steel wheat penny appears, it becomes a major event. Collectors, investors, museums, and historians all take notice. It's not just a coin, it's a headline, a legend, and a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Now comes the moment everyone waits for. At public auction, an authentic 1944 Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny has sold for more than $1 million. Yes, a single 1-cent coin, created by accident during World War II, has crossed the auction block for over $1 million, proving that even the smallest piece of change can become one of the greatest treasures in American numismatics. Top 4. Today, it tells a story far bigger than its size. The 1944 wheat penny marks a powerful turning point in U.S. history. Just 1 year earlier, pennies were made of steel to conserve copper for the war effort. Those steel cents were unpopular and confusing, often mistaken for dimes. By 1944, the U.S. Mint made a symbolic decision to return to copper-based pennies, signaling recovery, hope, and stability during a time of global conflict. What makes the 1944 penny even more meaningful is the metal itself. Much of the copper used came from recycled military shell casings. That means these coins were literally forged from the materials of war. Every 1944 wheat penny carries within it a hidden connection to the battlefield, making it one of the most historically rich coins ever struck for everyday use. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears calm, strong, and thoughtful. Lincoln had been chosen decades earlier as a symbol of unity, and in 1944, that choice felt especially powerful. Below his portrait, the date 1944 is clearly stamped, anchoring the coin in one of the most dramatic years of the 20th century. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by the iconic wheat ears design. The two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum resting above. This design represented growth, strength, and prosperity, values that Americans desperately clung to during wartime. Just a few years later, this design would disappear forever, making 1944 part of the final era of wheat pennies. Millions of 1944 wheat pennies were produced, and they circulated heavily. They passed through factories, farms, military towns, and city streets. Because of this, most surviving examples today show clear signs of wear. Smooth surfaces, faded lettering, and darkened color are common. That's why well-preserved examples are becoming increasingly difficult to find. Collectors pay close attention to details on these coins. Sharp lettering, strong wheat lines, and original copper color dramatically increase desirability. Some 1944 pennies retain beautiful red or red-brown surfaces, untouched by decades of harsh circulation. These coins instantly stand out and command strong interest whenever they appear. The 1944 wheat penny is especially popular because it appeals to everyone. Beginners love it because it's historic and recognizable. Advanced collectors pursue it in the highest grades possible. It represents a perfect balance of availability and challenge, making it one of the most studied and collected coins in American numismatics. Over the years, collectors have carefully examined 1944 pennies for strike quality, surface preservation, and subtle mint characteristics. Coins struck with exceptional clarity and minimal imperfections are far rarer than people realize. When a nearly perfect example appears, it creates serious excitement in the collecting community. Grading plays a major role in value. A worn example may only tell a story, but a pristine example tells a story and commands respect. Pennies that survive with full detail, strong luster, and original color are often certified by professional grading services to confirm their quality and authenticity. The demand for high-grade wheat pennies continues to rise as more collectors enter the hobby and existing collectors upgrade their sets. Coins like the 1944 wheat penny sit at the heart of that demand because they represent history, artistry, and American resilience in one small piece of copper. Now comes the moment everyone wants to hear. While most circulated examples remain affordable, exceptional 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies in top condition have achieved stunning results at major auctions. In the highest grades, with near-perfect preservation, this 1-cent coin has sold at auction for more than $100,000. Yes, a penny that once bought everyday necessities during World War II has crossed the auction block for over $100,000, proving that history, condition, and time can transform the smallest coin into a remarkable treasure. Top 5. Close your eyes for a second and picture San Francisco in 1944. Shipyards are alive with activity, military supplies are moving non-stop, and the pressure of World War II can be felt everywhere. In the middle of all this urgency, the U.S. Mint is striking millions of coins meant for everyday use. No one inside those mint walls could have imagined that a single mistake would one day become one of the most legendary pennies in American history. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been in circulation for decades by 1944, and most people barely noticed it. It was just 1 cent, used to buy small items and tossed casually into pockets. But the story of the 1944 Steel Wheat Penny begins a year earlier, in 1943, when copper was critically needed for the war effort. To conserve resources, the U.S. Mint temporarily struck pennies on zinc-coated steel planchets, giving them a silver-gray appearance unlike anything Americans had seen before. Those steel pennies were meant to be a one-year solution. When 1944 arrived, the mint officially returned to copper alloy cents, many made from recycled shell casings from the battlefield. Steel planchets were no longer authorized, and according to official plans, steel pennies were finished forever. But minting history is full of human moments. At the San Francisco Mint, a tiny number of steel blanks from 1943 somehow remained in the production system. They were never meant to be there. When 1944 dies were installed and presses began operating, at least one of those steel planchets was struck with a 1944 date and the S Mint mark. In that instant, one of the rarest U.S. coins ever created, came into existence, by accident. What makes the 1944 Steel Wheat Penny so mesmerizing is how wrong it feels. The date says 1944, a copper year. The color says steel, a metal that shouldn't be there. That contradiction is exactly what stops collectors in their tracks. This coin breaks the rules, and rule-breaking coins are where legends are born. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears as calm and steady as ever, a reassuring image during a time of global uncertainty. Beneath him, the date 1944 is clear and unmistakable. Just below the date sits the tiny S mint mark, quietly revealing that this coin was struck in San Francisco. That small letter is one of the most important details in American numismatics. Turn the coin over, and the familiar wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. The design is instantly recognizable, yet the steel surface changes everything. Light reflects differently. The texture feels colder. The coin doesn't just look rare, it feels rare. Only an extremely small number of genuine 1944 steel wheat pennies are known to exist today. Experts believe the total number is incredibly low, possibly just one confirmed example. That level of rarity places this coin in a category that few others ever reach. It's not just scarce, it's nearly mythical. Because of its value, this coin is one of the most heavily counterfeited pennies in existence. Some altered coins are made by changing the date on a 1943 steel cent. Others are copper pennies coated to look like steel. A real example will stick to a magnet, show correct mint characteristics, and must be authenticated by top professional grading services. Without certification, claims of authenticity are meaningless. Condition plays a crucial role as well. Steel coins are vulnerable to corrosion, rust, and surface damage. The fact that any 1944 steel penny survived at all is remarkable. Surviving examples with strong detail and stable surfaces are considered miracles of preservation. Collectors don't just want this coin, they chase it. Museums want it for display. Elite collectors want it as the centerpiece of their collections. Auction houses treat it as a once-in-a-generation event. When the coin appears publicly, the entire numismatic world pays attention. This penny represents more than a mint error. It represents wartime America, industrial pressure, and the unpredictable nature of history. It proves that even in a system built on precision, accidents can create something extraordinary. Now comes the moment that still shocks people. At public auction, an authenticated 1944 Lincoln steel wheat penny has sold for over $1 million. Yes, a 1-cent coin, never meant to exist, struck by mistake during World War II, has achieved an auction price exceeding $1 million, securing its place as one of the most valuable pennies ever known. So the next time you see an unusual coin, don't dismiss it. History sometimes hides its greatest treasures in the smallest forms. If you enjoyed this incredible story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. More legendary coin discoveries are on the way, and you won't want to miss a single one. Fire.